can I ask you a question? How do you feel about the haircut? I like it, obviously, but I do think that the bangs are a little chunky. My dad is taking new clients in the New Jersey area. Hi, I'm Jay. What's up? How's it going? How are you? If you're new here, to give a quick recap of what's happening, I currently live in my childhood home and I am in the process of rereading all of my childhood books. I have a story for you today. I have a heck of a tale. Several months ago, my friend Chelsea and I were chatting about this hip Netflix show called The Society. You remember The Society, it was great. Cut down before its time, I digress. We were talking about The Society. We both enjoyed The Society. Chelsea proceeds to tell me about this book series that she remembers from her youth that gives her major society vibes. She doesn't bother to tell me the book title. She just assumes that it hasn't crossed my radar. Yeah, it was Lord of the Flies, like society building, YA. It just took a lot of weird turns. Like she's telling me these details and something clicks and I stop her and I say less, 1 second. And I go to my bookshelf, I come back, and I show her this cover, and Chelsea is aghast. So to round out this story, this was a big deal for both of us. So the Gone series by Michael Grant was my favorite series when I was a teenager. Like I read Percy Jackson, I read Hunger Games, I read Divergent, I read the biggies, but Gone was my favorite. To be a Gone fan was a lonely existence. I have never met a person in real life who knew what the Gone series was. Meeting someone who recognized the name Michael Grant was honestly a dream that I had given up on. And similar to Chelsea, this was a series that had stuck in her brain since she was my age, but she had no one to talk about it with. And here we are, worlds colliding, and I was elated. I finally had a comrade in arms who I could talk about Gone with, my favorite book series come back to life. Slight snag though, it turns out Chelsea hates it. She didn't finish the first book. She thought it was dumb, actually. You know, beggars can't be choosers. I waited a long time for this. This also felt like the perfect setup for a buddy read series. So that's what we're doing today. Shall we meet Chelsea? I think we should meet Chelsea. Thank you so much for doing this. Your shirt looks so cute.
I was like, should I change it? Does this color do anything for me? I don't know.
I am honestly so excited to talk about this book with you because I've never had anyone who even knew what the series was about. So
Well, no one else knew about it either. And so I just remember, like, I came across it in my school library, in the high school library. And I never met anyone else that knows anything about this book.
I guess like, because you were saying that you had high hopes at the time that you were reading it because it checked off all the boxes for you. I guess like what were you reading at the time and like what initially attracted you to this book? Can you see how like banged up this is?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I got really excited when you held it up, and I was going to ask you to just do a close-up shot of the cover because that was the exact cover that I saw in my school library. Like I vividly remember where it was placed, which is weird. I don't know what it is with this book because I've read so many books like this and like books that I was like really, really into as a kid, and I can't recall their covers. I was very much into the like kids rebuilding society, like Lord of the Flies kind of books. Because I like history a lot. I've always really, really liked history. And like a little bit of politics. The idea of having to like rebuild a society with like limited resources. Plus they're all young and my age and think they're the smartest people in the world. Like I love that. And the thing that was disappointing is that I had such high expectations because it's so up my alley. Like it was everything that I wanted, and I didn't care for the execution of it.
Describe to me the plot of the book.
Well, to begin with, though, I never finished the book.
Okay.
Which is again a sign because I always finish every book that I read, and that was like the first time that I like got halfway through a book and was like, I don't think I'm gonna make it. Um, but my memory is like, I think it just starts in like all the parents just disappear. Like over the age of like 18 or 17 just disappears.
Mhm.
I think the last place where I left off was like kids from a neighboring town, like a really rich neighboring town, uh, came, it like drove it and were like, we know we're gonna take over. Like they clashed with like a couple of the main characters that were like leading.
Mhm.
Uh, oh yeah, and there was a whole plot where it's like there's a nuclear plant in the town,
Mhm.
but for some reason I remember them not like considering that to be like a big option for why the parents disappeared. They mention it, but I don't think they're like, it was the plant and we should probably start there. I feel like that was something that I was a little irritated with. But that's my memory of reading this when I was 15.
You got a lot of bits and pieces. I'm really glad that, like, I feel like what the most that you read stuck in your brain. It opens in a sleepy California town, and one day, without warning or explanation, everyone over the age of 15 disappears. That is the first of many very weird and dangerous obstacles that are thrown at these kids. You're right about the disappearance thing. You're right about a new set of children come in. They're not from a neighboring town. They're from like the rich boarding school who are up the hill. We're introduced to like these set of new children who are kind of like the antagonists. They're like the Coates. They're the Coates Academy kids. They are the rich. They're rich and they're troubled. Is kind of like their main identifier. And the leader of the Coates kids, who's like, hey, his name is Kane, and Kane is like, hey guys,
Of course his name is
for
Kate.
the
Of course it is.
he's like, hey guys, I'm Kane, we're the Coates kids. He's like, he comes in like kind of like a young politician who's just like here to save the day, but you can tell that he has ill intentions. And then and there's one last element that we haven't discussed, and it's the fact that these kids have superpowers.
Last straw. I can't pick a genre. I
Yeah.
can't.
Do you think like that was the final thing that made you go, we're putting this down?
Okay, I think it might be just because I don't even remember that being an aspect. But I feel like I blocked it out.
I think that you blocked it out because I remember the timeline of the weird things that you're introduced to pretty vividly. It's adults disappear. We learn there's a barrier around the town, and then Sam reveals to the reader that he has superpowers. And then later, the Codes kids come in. I think that's probably why Gone didn't work for you because you wanted the society world building aspect of it, and I was down with the weirdness. Like the weird shit got introduced, and I was taken aback, but I got on board with it. For you to have the best chance of success with the series, you just gotta embrace that it's going to be really weird.
I think now that I'm aware of it,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be much easier for me to read it and get through it because, yeah, when you go in expecting this is a quintessential like world building, society building thing, then we're fine. But when it just kept getting a little weird. I think also the main thing was the characters. There were too many characters.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. And you did not even meet all of them. Like you only met like the first half of characters.
Oh, how do you like, okay, so let me ask you a question. Do you feel emotionally connected to all of these characters?
You know, I'm glad you asked that question. I think the ones I liked, yes. There were ones that I really latched onto, and those I really cared about, but there were a lot of them. I don't think they were all really fleshed out. They were just kind of like one distinct characteristic, which is probably not great in terms of character development, but it was at least convenient in terms of like helping me identify, oh yes, this person. But yeah, there were a lot of characters that I didn't, and I generally had a connection to most of them, uh, and I never really had trouble remembering who was who.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, do you feel like each character's chapter actually like advanced the story?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Which I guess you don't have to answer now, because I
Yeah.
think with the reread, you can answer
I
that.
think I suppose I would say yes.
Okay.
Yeah. That's fun for me because I definitely wanted to bring you in for this because this is going to be my first time like reading this book critically. Because before I'm just taking a nice trip down memory lane.
Actually, I think I started reading Game of Thrones shortly after Gone.
Really?
Yeah, because my sister introduced it to me. So,
That's really interesting. There's so many more characters in Game of Thrones than in Gone.
okay, so that did cross my mind when we were talking about characters, and that's why I asked if each character moves the plot forward,
Okay.
because I feel like with Game of Thrones there are a lot of characters, and even in those books, some of the characters, like, I didn't really enjoy reading their chapters, but you get so much information from every single character that you kind of have to.
Okay.
So I don't remember, but I will see when I start rereading Gone if I feel the same. Where like,
Okay.
are these characters advancing the story, and are they advancing the story because it's part of their character, or is their character's chapter literally there to advance the story in a way that the other characters wouldn't have been able to do? In the sense where like they're just a plot device. Like you just invented this character because they're the only person who could show you this particular view, rather than being able to write creatively and have your main character learn this information some other way.
Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that is something I'm looking for.
I'm literally so excited for you to experience this. I think it's just going to be very laughable to like listen to you react to the weird shit that gets thrown at these characters. I feel like you're going to be very done with it, but you did promise to read this first book, so I'm very excited too.
No, I promised. I got it, and I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna read it, and I'm gonna record my reactions as much as I can.
I'm so glad we got to talk about this. Okay, bye.
So yeah, that's the ride that you signed up for. I attempted to fit all of this into one video, but the thing is, I could not fit a discussion about this book into one Zoom call, yet alone one video. So we're in for a journey. So I, Narration J, am obviously coming to you post finishing this adventure with Chelsea. I obviously know what happens in Gone by Michael Grant. I obviously know how Chelsea experiences Gone by Michael Grant, but you don't. It's a ride, and I would love for you to come along with us. Like, I will do my best to post weekly for this mini arc. The next video will cover about the first 200 pages if you so choose to follow along. I would love for you to do so. However, please rent it from your library. Like, please do not drop money on this book. But yeah, that's it. That's all I had to tell you. Stay tuned for the next installment, I suppose you could call it, of revisiting Gone by Michael Grant, featuring my good friend Chelsea. I'm done. I don't know about. I'm done. I'm satisfied with that outro. Okay, bye. Hi, it's Editing J in person to tell you that she is not satisfied with that outro. I don't have much to say, just thank you for watching. I'm excited to take you on this journey through Teenage Me's favorite YA sci-fi series. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're intrigued, and we will see what happens the next time I upload. Okay.